Another amazing Monday and the beginning of the week. Every Monday we come up with an amazing story. Sometimes it's a founder story, sometimes the brain trust story, sometimes the investor who join us and share about their story, their journey, and some insight that we get inspiration from. Today we have an amazing entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur out there who joined us. I'm not gonna waste your time. Usually Brian does this Monday call. Once he travels, I have to fill the void, as you know, always, and I've done that quite a many times. So here I am today, your GP, the host of the show today, and the CEO of Expert Dojo. I'm gonna ask Kislet to bring Christopher here so that we can kick off immediately rather than just talking about some boring stuff from my side. Hey, Kislet, can you just bring Christopher in? Hey, Chris,
What's up?
good to see you, man. Where are you
You
calling in?
too. I'm in Santa Monica,
Oh, you're in Santa Monica.
right down the street from Expert Dojo.
There you go. I'm also traveling right now. I'm not in Santa Monica at the moment, but
Oh,
then
okay.
Brian is in Ireland, so we are all over these days. But you've been to
Okay.
Expedia before, right?
Yeah, I was there like for LA Tech Week for sure. I was there at least I think I was there twice last week.
Uh-huh. Interesting. I mean, that was a crazy week, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We just hop
yeah.
in and out from one event to the other. I mean, like it's crazy. Like the whole city
Yeah, it
is
was
full of
crazy.
events, right?
It
But
was
good
crazy.
to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to Expodozo Monday Live. The purpose of this, Monday Live is really like people from around the world. It's get recorded as well. It goes out to the community of founders around the world as well. Sometime investors, founder all around the world they join us. They will start asking questions as well, and it goes live on all across different platforms. Sharp at 8:30 a.m. every Monday. So every time we have
Okay.
different guests, like from different backgrounds who comes in, and I know you got a crazy startup, like founding experience, and your tag,
Yeah.
and I love that, man. Like it's called the crazy startup guy, right? So tell me
Crazy
a little bit
startup guy.
more about you. I mean, like how you started so many different things, and then how you are connecting them all together. Tell me about your story. Tell me a little bit about you, and then we can kick it off from there.
Yeah, so I've started a bunch of small businesses. I moved to Santa Monica like 2.5 years ago. I was in New York before that since like 2004. And then I was born and raised in Florida. So um, where do I start? I mean, I guess from a kind of young age, I was always like had some kind of side hustle selling. Like I had a recording studio. I was doing music for a long time. That's why I moved to New York initially, besides just wanting to be in New York. So I had a recording studio, had a little clothing line. I sold some shirts, let's say that. I sold some t-shirts when I was like in my teenage years. But even before that, not to age myself, but I guess I'm gonna age myself. I used to sell mixed CDs that I burned from like Napster back in the days. And like before that, other like random things, selling things to my friends and people at school. But I moved to New York 2004. I was working in restaurants like my whole like teenage and like early 20s. I dropped out. I went to community college. I dropped out. I was not really did all right in school, like regular school, but I didn't really know I kind of knew what I want to do, but not exactly. So I went to community college for like a year and then dropped out. And then I really decided I wanted to just work for myself because I definitely I have a few memories of working, being an employee and being like, this is not for me. I'm not. This is not my vibe. But in New York, I started doing different stuff because I always like worked in like I like to build things with my hands and stuff, like actually construction and that kind of stuff. So I started, I guess probably my first thing I started doing like handyman, like construction things. Not my first, but when I was in New York, I realized, oh wow, people in New York don't really know how to do these type of things. But like even like simple things like handyman stuff. So I started doing that as like a little side hustle and did some like moving and some random things and then started and when I was doing that, I had some of this chalkboard paint. I was doing a client like this pediatrician. I was doing a chalkboard wall on their on in their office, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It'd be cool to have this like on a shirt. And so I did it. I put it on a shirt and I made a chalkboard shirt, and it was like just messing around. And then I met my current wife and mother of my two daughters. But at that time, just the girl I met, and she was like, I wore it, and she was like, "What is this? Are you selling these? Why aren't you selling?" I was like, "Nah, I was just messing around." But we had a mutual friend who had a clothing line. He did screen printing and stuff, and I had always wanted to like learn. I had sold shirts before, but got them like just printed and sold them. Um, but I'd always wanted to like learn how to do that. So we started doing that, and like right after we met, we started this little business and started selling them at like street markets. I guess you would say street markets, street fairs in New York. There's a lot of like around Manhattan specifically. There are things like every weekend at this church or this place or whatever, outdoor things. And we started selling them because it was like, you get it and you get like your tax ID and your little like street what was it, like the vendors thing, whatever. And you can kind of like make some and then go sell them and like get instant feedback. You start selling them, whatever. So we started doing that. People were liking them. And then we were like, all right, let's find some more of these type of street fair events and started selling more. And then it kind of like kept going. And then we started doing bigger events. And then we went to Chicago to a larger event and we sold a bunch. We were like, damn, this is cool. Pretty fun. And like, we can sell these. People like them. So we kept doing that, and then we started selling wholesale, started selling to stores. We ended up selling them to like the Museum of Modern Art and New Museum and the Whitney Museum and some other like selling them to like boutiques. We were selling e-commerce back when you had to like copy and paste the PayPal button on your website. So I built our websites. I'm not a developer, but I learned just like on like W3 schools and stuff how to do like HTML, a little bit of CSS and that kind of stuff. But I had always like done like music production, Pro Tools, and like MIDI and like drum machines and keyboards and stuff. So I'm into that kind of stuff. So yeah, we started doing that. We were selling on our website, we were selling wholesale, we were selling actually like every weekend at events. And then it got to and then we decided, okay, we were in New York, we wanted to travel, do these events, but they're like around the country. And I'm from Florida. We were like, we can't really afford to like pay rent in New York and not be there. So like, all right, let's make our base in Florida for a little bit while we do these travel around the country and do these events. And then we did that. And then we had our first daughter. And then we had our second daughter. And and so we were in Florida for a few years, like 3 years in between there. And then we moved back to New York. We were like, all right, we had two daughters, like we're done. And let's go back to New York. I'm like super bored in Florida because we weren't traveling as much. So 2012, we moved back there and we started going crazy and like selling all over. We got up to like we had like 13 employees, people in our studio, screen printing, packing shirts, shipping, sewing little pockets on them for it was chalkboard t-shirt. We got them featured on like Good Morning America a couple times, local news in New York One and this and stuff like that. And but it was a lot, and we were getting to where our older daughter was going to be in kindergarten. Like we had this crazy, entrepreneur, like no schedule, just like whatever. And it's cool when you have like little kids that aren't in school, but then it's like once they get to like they're gonna be in kindergarten, it's like Monday through Friday. It's like, ah man, this is not sustainable. Um, and we want to, have some sort of I guess normalcy. Um, and we were having issues with like we were using American Apparel as our blanks, and they were having issues with the founders kind of like he had issues, but also they were like going through bankruptcy. It was like issues with supply chain on that side, and then issues
What
with
year
like
it was in
this was like 20 this was around 2014. I think, yeah, 2014, we were like kind of getting to the point where we're like, our daughter was born in 2010, so she was like 4. She was about to be going to kindergarten, and it was just like we were working nonstop, and we were like making money like enough to like pay our bills and like pay our people, but it was like very seasonal what we were doing because we were in New York. We're selling outdoors, so after Christmas, it's like 3 months of nothing basically in New York, and even like just in retail in general. Um, and we were not like MBA. We weren't like, oh, scalable. Let's get investors, pre-seed, this and that. It was like, nah, we just started. We didn't know anything about like, oh, sell a company. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff.
But
This
were
was
you
like
doing real estate thing in the New York as well, or it's just the art related stuff?
real estate. Yeah, I did get my real estate license and did like that was kind of half-ass thing. But no, as far as real estate, yeah, we did pop-up shops. We did pop-up shops in Manhattan and Brooklyn. We had we had a we had a couple studios in Brooklyn, different spots in like Bushwick, East Williamsburg. Um, so we'd like release real estate, a good amount of real estate for those short term, long term, and then we flipped from the t-shirts we were selling at these events, and I was kind of like, man, instead of being a vendor, I would rather just host these events and like produce these events. So 2014, 2013, 2014, we kind of went to that. It was like, all right, look, I want to do this. And like I is always into like music. I kind of got away from like my first love of this and the kind of the creative stuff. And I was doing like this shirts and I was just screen printing shirts and selling shirts. And it got to where it wasn't as fun. And so we got a little spot in Brooklyn in Bushwick. It was a little art DIY art space that we were doing a market at on the weekends, and we were kind of easing out of the shirt, so we were screen printing during the week, and then on the weekend we would have an event. But we grew out of that really quickly. It was like 2,500 square feet, and we were like packed it out, and it was like, all right, let's get rid of this because the real estate is crazy expensive. Like to just like having brick and mortar, like it puts you at like a base level of
Yeah.
expenses. It's like this is not worth it at this point. So we started doing events at other places so we could kind of like, oh, if we need a bigger spot, we just get a bigger spot just for the day or for the weekend. So we started doing stuff at House of Yes in Brooklyn, and then we started like renting out warehouses, and we ended up doing like some food festivals. I had like a couple food festivals, like 5,000 people at those for like a weekend event, 60 food vendors. Um,
So you started doing these events starting from Brooklyn itself, right? Before moving to LA.
yes, yes. I started doing events in like 10, yeah, 11 years ago, 2020 or 2014. Started hosting events, did like a lot of markets. So like things were with vendors, local small businesses selling clothes, jewelry, whatever, like they're kind
I
of
would not
crafted.
say doing events. I would rather say you started building community. Like bringing.
Yeah, well, yes, I definitely did that. I wasn't really thinking about it as I'm building community. I was like, I'm hosting events, but like I started building, I would say building community. I mean, so we knew a lot of people because we were selling our shirts at these events. So we like were in this community as community members. But then starting doing the events, it was like pulling from, oh, we know these people that sell at these events. We can get them to sell at our event. So that kind of was the beginning, I guess, of building the community stuff. And then we were hosting these marketplaces, like actual in-person marketplaces. Like I have to get vendors
Yeah.
and I have to convince vendors that there's going to be attendees, and I got to get attendees to convince them there's going to be vendors like simultaneously. Um, so I figured out like kind of how to do that, which is like you kind of just have to like you just have to get faith, right? You're like, hey, attendees, there's going to be vendors. We don't have them yet, but we don't have to say that part. Hey, attendees is going to be, or hey, vendors is going to be attendees. You know, you have to kind of just like have faith and get people to have faith, and then it comes together. And And even like doing that, sometimes like the weather's not good, especially like in New York. LA is like the weather's always nice, basically. So it's like definitely makes it
And
easier for
Venice
that.
is like a perfect place for this kind of events. Like I don't know if you have gone to, but I've gone to a bunch of those events where like you have like people from the art
Yeah,
industry. They're all coming along. They're like hanging out, making
yeah,
business
exactly.
on the side. Like, and the weather is beautiful. You don't have to
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but so we were doing it, and then it was getting very saturated. There was a lot of people because I think people see if you make the bad thing about is if you make things look easy, people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna try that too." And I'm like, "All right, you can try it. It's not as easy as it looks." But so people started. There was a lot of these things happening before the pandemic. Um, and there's less and less spaces like in New York is just getting harder to find venues. You see that in anywhere. Like there's not that many landlords that are interested in like short-term rentals of their like they have a vacant space, they're trying to rent it like for a lease, like a year, 3-year lease or whatever. They're not really like too excited about having like renting it out for a day or two. Even if they're getting like maybe what they would get for a month or half of what they would get for a month for a day or two. So there's like not that many of them, and the prices are kind of high, so it's like it makes it harder. So it's getting very saturated, and we had always rented like these art studios for like screen printing and doing different things. And I had always like in Brooklyn, you have these places that they were converted into art studios. It was like a 10,000 square foot entire floor, and they'll split it up into a bunch of like 500, 800 square foot art studios. Back kind of like before when you could just do it, and it wasn't like, oh, you need an architect and this and this and this. That you could just do it, and people like didn't really care. So I was like, man, I really want to do that, but it was like kind of past that ship has sailed of like now it's like, oh, you're gonna get a permit, and you get architects, you gotta do all this, the sprinklers and this and that. And I was like, all right, that's gonna be too much because I'm bootstrapping all these things.
Mm. And
So
by
I
the way, a
realized,
lot of
oh,
questions are already started popping up. So I know if you can quickly
what's
wrap this up, your story to LA, and then I have a lot of questions from my
yeah,
side, and then we can because we have 45 minutes hardcore for this
yeah,
one.
yeah. So last thing was in New York was in 2019. I signed a 10-year lease on this 4,500 square foot space in Bushwick, which is like the arts, basically the arts, the center of the arts hub, like in New York City, I would say, like the cutting edge. Um, so got this, and I was like, okay, the WeWork model, but like for artists. So it was like a warehouse that was like much more not class A office space, like it was a warehouse, fourth floor walk up warehouse, off the L train. Signed a 10-year lease on this April 2019, and of course, 11 months later, March 2020, everything shuts down. And New York is like the worst possible place to be in that situation. But we
I was
started
also
it
in
in.
Boston that time, so I remember those days. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And we thought like, oh, okay, maybe it'll be a week. Oh, maybe it'll be a month. Okay, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then it was like, so like after about 20 months, I think it was November 2021, almost 2 years, we were just like, all right, forget this. We broke our lease and we left, and we actually got an RV. We got all of our stuff out of New York,
you
got an
did.
RV, got an RV, and because our daughters were like not teenagers yet, they're 13 and 15 now, so
Mm.
they were like 9 and 11, I think, at that point. We're like, because my wife and I had done before she was my wife, we went around the country for like a couple months in our van and sold shirts in 2009. And I had always wanted to like have an RV since I was a kid. I don't know, I just like probably from movies and stuff, it just seemed cool. So we were like, you know what, this is a perfect chance. We don't want to be in New York right now. Maybe we'll come back, but let's just like leave for 6 months. Let's get an RV. It'll be great. Our kids are gonna be teenagers soon. It's not gonna happen. Once they're teenagers, it's not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen if we don't do it now. So
Totally.
we did it, and we ended up being like 15 months. We went to like 35 national parks in like 35 states, probably something like that.
And you did from east side to the west coast, right?
We were from East Coast. We went down to Art Basel because I like paint and stuff too. So we went down there, sold some paintings there actually. Went down all the way to Key West, and then went all the way out here. We actually went 1.5 times around the country. So New York to Florida to San Diego to Seattle, back to New York, Florida, and then back to LA.
And that's where
Um,
the story landed in LA.
Yeah, and then on the first time to LA, we were here for a couple months working on a project, and we were like, let's just move here because we had talked about like being bi-coastal when we were in New York. It was like, oh, that'd be cool. So now it's kind of like forced and like, all right, we can still be bi-coastal, but instead of mainly New York and a little bit of West, we'll be mainly. And we lived in because she's from Jersey, I'm from Florida, and we lived in New York for like almost 20 years. So we lived on the East Coast our whole life till
Makes
2023.
well,
So
cool.
that brings us here.
Man, like you got an amazing story and entrepreneurial trait. Like you got a typical entrepreneurial trait. You dropped out from the school. You did all those
Mhm.
hardcore, like mixing CDs to selling
Yeah.
here in the street. I mean, like, what else you need? Like, so I bet you have a like amazing entrepreneurial experience, which MBA are not getting taught because they are getting trained to go
Yes.
for the corporate lifestyle. Honestly speaking, that's not
Yes.
reality because I did my stuff, so I know how it works, right? But the real
Hmm.
experience counts if you have done the stuff on the ground, right?
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
what's your experience of like creating stuff in a different worlds, how it's all getting connected together, like as an entrepreneur, if I have to ask, because I bet there are a lot of founders who are listening to our story today. So I mean, like, how
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you
yeah.
connecting all the dots? How are you getting like your experience count in your what you're doing right now? And I would love to know about what you're up to right now as well in LA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, everything needs to be marketed, right? Everything needs to be designed pretty much. Everything has a customer, like a UX, like a user experience, pretty much everything, and a user interface. So these things are very and doing market research, actually like selling your product at a market is like actually the market is the best market research because you like make it at night on Sunday night or whatever on Friday night, and then Saturday morning I'm out there selling it. You're getting immediate feedback, and you can iterate. It's like, oh, people like this color or this design or this. We sell more of this size, whatever that is. You can kind of start figuring out it. You have to be like a very, I think a people watcher. I'm definitely like a people watcher, so I'm paying attention. I'm like watching people interact and like and looking where their eyes go and all of this stuff. So I maybe that's like naturally who I am, but I think that's very useful to just pay attention, right? And pay attention like what people say, but also just like their actions. Um, and very, I guess, analytical about that. So those things are important, like for everything, honestly. Like if you're selling anything, whether it's B2C, B2B, you have to kind of like have some intuition about what people are going to like before you even start because you have to like kind of get part of the way there, right? To have any kind of success. And then you have to like also be able to, iterate from there and say, okay, what did we get wrong? Make some assumptions, but like keep going.
I love that because
Yeah.
people who are watching it listen to this because this is what happens when you have the real on ground experience. Because when you talk about okay, the traditional way of building companies is like okay, build the MVP, do this stuff. You're following the
Hmm.
pattern which is being taught.
Hmm.
I mean, like years back, and those things
Yeah.
are outdated, right? And what you are saying, like at
Hmm.
Expose as well, we are talking about customer first mentality all the time and customer
Yeah.
feedback. Go hardcore, do sales, come back, reiterate, go back, come back, go back,
Yep.
come. It's a loop, right? And then
That's it.
on the ground, you need to be with customers all the time because that's your
Yeah.
God technically. They will give you the early feedback, and then you can iterate accordingly, build an amazing
Hmm.
lovable product. And that's what we have
Yeah,
been
exactly.
saying like a jillion times. And that's why I love this conversation. The reason being, like, you're talking about no MBA shit. It's like the real
Yeah,
game. Go talk to customers, right?
that's it.
And I'm very curious about your coming from those art world and then now learning your own all the technology side of it, right? Like
Hmm.
how are you connecting the threads together, like all the way from the arts and to the tech and building? I mean, like doing some real estate, you have like hardcore entrepreneurial on ground experience. How are you connecting
Hmm.
the threads? What's the commonalities between the those side of the world and this side of the world, the digital and the physical and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always I've always been into the tech stuff. Like even when I was doing like screen printing shirts and stuff, I was like reading Ink and like Fast Company and all of these things. Like I was always into it, but I was like, this was kind of I wasn't a developer. I was not confident in my, like, I could make website, like a basic website and stuff, but I was like, man, this is cool to be able to do all these things. But I was not, I don't know, that just wasn't like where I was. But doing all of the things, I've learned a lot doing all of the like brick and mortar things, like, and learning like, man, I'm putting all this effort into this thing. I'm promoting this event, but then after the event, like all that work is done because that was for that event, and this is not scalable, right? So and then having the space, and then COVID coming and seeing like how it's like this brick and mortar is like so much overhead and this and that, and it's I really like physical like brick and mortar. I love like a warehouse. I look at a warehouse and I'm like, oh my, I think of all the things I can do with a warehouse. It's like I love it. I don't know what it is, but I love it. I like spaces like architecture and like all of this and like construction and all this stuff.
I
So I
love
see
that.
like a blank slate and I'm like, oh man. But
Man,
I so like
you're stealing my words because I have grown up doing the same shit, honestly. Because like
I love
if
it.
you build something which is very unsexy and digitizing the whole industry, the orthodoxy and removing the paradox, I mean that's where the money to be made, and then you are
Yeah.
engaged and you are happy. You're getting satisfaction. Sorry, I didn't wanna
Yeah.
interrupt you because you're like stealing my words. Like really, I love those shit.
Yeah. So like I came out here and I'm like, all right, Chris, you cannot don't get a leash on something. Like I know you love it, but like we're gonna do tech. We're gonna keep our overhead like super low, and we're gonna work on something that's like super scalable. So and do all of the marketing that I know how to do and all of that that was going towards like an event or something that was like, oh, all this build up for a month or two to like this one thing and then it's over. Like those posters are like that I put up around the city are like invalid now, right? Like, man, I could put all that effort into like an app or something that's like useful, that's just like anyone can use. It's nothing like they have to be at this place at this time available. It's like, so I was like, came out here and I'm like, all right, we're just focusing. I actually during the pandemic, we were homeschooling my daughters, and I thought of the a tech thing in the ed tech space because I was like, we were homeschooling them. Well, they finished that first year, the last 3 months of the 2020, and then summer came. We were like, it wasn't going away, or like, man, we're gonna homeschool them because this was very stressful. So I had an idea for an education thing, which I'm still like trying to work out, which is not. It's the hardest thing for me to get going because people are not into ed tech. It's hard to find people for ed tech.
And
So,
also
anyways, but
the
I was,
industry is saturated a little bit, like there's just like a lot of product out there which is not really sustainable, scalable, stuff like there are a bunch of issues. But I mean, like,
yeah,
I see where it's going. Like necessity is the mother of invention, technically, right? So when you saw
yeah,
that your daughter is struggling and you are homeschooling them, right? I mean, cool, new idea,
yeah,
right? So I mean that's how it's all
yeah.
set, right?
Yeah, so that one, I mean, that one is basically like an all. I won't even go into what that is, but anyways, I also have experience in like the art side and the marketing side. So I had always noticed. I'll tell you, like, so Space for Ads is the biggest probably project that I'm working on right now. That is we're live and we're like in beta right now. So I saw that like all these vacant storefronts. When I was in New York, see vacant storefronts. I'm here in LA. I'm in Santa Monica. There's vacant storefronts that have been vacant since I've been here, and they probably were vacant well before I was here. So I've been here for almost 3 years. They've been vacant. So I see this in this like a waste, but there's cars driving by them every day. These vacant storefronts, people walking by them, and then also I had some I had two like Sprinter like cargo vans in New York right before the pandemic for another like side hustle business that I had, and I'm always very interested in like street teams. Like if you're familiar with like Bad Boy Records back in the day, like early like 90s hip hop street teams, you'd have like your van wrapped, whatever, Hot 97, whatever, handing out flyers for a concert or an album or whatever.
Huh?
And that's guerrilla marketing, right? Like wheat pasting, putting up stickers, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I noticed all these delivery vehicles, cargo vans, box trucks, even like semi trailers. They're just half of them are just white, no branding.
Hmm.
They're just there, and I'm like, man, I bet brands would pay like you could get paid to have a brand like a Netflix ad on your semi truck or your cargo van. You're driving a cargo van, you're a plumber, you're a bakery delivery, whatever. You're driving around Venice, Marina del Rey, Santa Monica, like Soho, Brooklyn, wherever you are. All the time, there's these vans and they're just driving and they have their business, but I bet they wouldn't mind to get like 500, maybe 750, $1,000 a month.
I mean, who says
And
no
I'm
to
pretty sure,
money knocking your door?
right. So I was looking at that and like, there's not really like this is like Airbnb, right? You can have Airbnb, but like for like a vacant storefront, you can list that and then brand can say, oh, I'll pay you. And now you have like something that's sitting there making no money
Mm.
for months and months, sometimes years and years. And then you have people who can't, they're trying to advertise, but you can't, there's not billboards everywhere. There are billboards in certain areas, and there's areas where there's no billboards or no like advertising. But
Yeah,
there are
the human
storefronts.
psychology is like if you are driving around, you're walking around, we keep reading things. Okay, what is there? What is there? What's not? Right? And
Yeah,
there is nothing. I mean, like we are losing an opportunity on like
exactly.
from the world in a way, right? So
Yeah, there's storefronts like across from Whole Foods,
yeah,
and there's thousands of products being sold in Whole Foods. Like probably hundreds, maybe thousands of companies
of course.
sell products in Whole Foods. There's a storefront, vacant storefront across from there.
Hmm.
Like in across from an Equinox gym, they got a treadmills staring out the windows, the glass windows,
Yeah,
at a vacant storefront. There are many brands that would love to sell to that demographic, right? And on and on and on.
and
So
that's your
I was
biggest
kind
project that you're working on, right now.
yeah, yeah. It's called Space for Ads, SPACE, the number four, ADS. We just launched this. Um,
Very
and so
interesting.
basically we're starting with three types of properties. So it's vacant real estate, really focused on LA and New York. These are all LA and New York mainly focused because those where the people are. Um, and they'll kind of spread from there. But vehicles is the second type, cargo vans, box trucks, semi trailers, and the third is actually already selling advertisements is sports fields, Little League, Pop Warner,
Yeah,
high school football, baseball fields. They're already selling banners on their outfields
true.
or their fences, and but they're not really selling them out, and they're calling local companies. So we're like, hey, list that here. And now like imagine you're like a Disney Plus or a Disney. You can have a Disney Plus banner on every little league baseball field. Or you're a
Exactly.
Nike, you could have every high school football field you could have a banner on.
Right.
So
It's like
that's
you're
what we're
acting as a
building.
middleman, connecting them all together as well at the same time. What's
Yeah,
your
exactly.
formula? Is there any formula that you follow from your experience? Do you follow the people first, the problem first, or the passion first? What do you
What was the last one? Passion.
passion? Yeah.
Um, I'm looking at the problem. I'm looking I'm just like being, I guess, just being an entrepreneur and just curious and a people watcher. I'm always looking around like, well, first of all, when I'm going through my life, I'm always noticing like just design flaws, like things that are like, why is this is poorly designed? And there's so many things that are poorly designed that we just accept as like poorly designed and like no one does anything about it a lot of times, right? Um, and sometimes that's a physical thing, but sometimes it's just it's just friction in a process, right? Or in some sort of transaction. And so I noticed this and I was like, this is just a waste, right? There's like money sitting here. Like there's a storefront. There's like, it's hard to find. It's first of all, it's just hard to have a brick and mortar business, especially like now, since it was already hard before COVID. Now it's even harder. And because prices are crazy, online e-commerce, whatever. I'm like, this is just sitting here. They probably should turn them into residential, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So and even like the largest companies, just a lot of these storefronts in like the Sohos and like the LAs and certain areas, like the biggest companies in the world have these, and they're just dead. You walk by them, like there's no people in them. There's no way they're making this place is like
Walk through
40
the
grand.
10th Street Promenade, you'll see a bunch of them
That's
vacated.
what I'm saying. Like this is a marketing expense basically for
Yeah.
them. And it's like, is that even worth it? I don't know, maybe. It's like there's no way they're paying their this 50 grand a month and all these people and there's no one in there. Like even like there's like an hour on a Saturday when it's packed, and then the rest of the time it's empty.
Yeah.
So I just saw that and I was like, man, there's these storefronts, there's money sitting there, but it's just not being captured. Um, the businesses, all these small businesses need help, like this people with delivery trucks and stuff. Like I'm sure they would love to use a little extra money. Um, and then the sports fields, like these high schools and these little leagues, they're doing this to raise money to get better facilities or uniforms or whatever it is, or equipment. And I think this marketplace can connect and kind of help these small businesses and the landlords, and the big developer landlords that have tens of thousands of properties around the country, and the fleets and logistics companies that have hundreds of thousands of trucks around the country, but also the mom and pop that just has one storefront that's vacant or one delivery vehicle, right? So yeah, I kind of just saw that and I was like looking around, and there is like a Travelocity or Expedia of this that aggregates your like Clear Channels and your Lamar advertising, or like the big outdoor advertising. There are some companies that do that where you can browse kind of that way. But I look at those as like the Travelocity, right? They bring all the hotels and all of this together. But Airbnb has inventory that none of these other ones have, right? They're kind of, as a guest, it is a zero sum. You either go to a hotel or you go to an Airbnb, but they're competing in that sense. But also Airbnb is not trying to get the Marriott, and Marriott's not trying to get the Airbnb, right? They're kind of like different. So that's basically what we were. I was looking around and it doesn't exist. I'm like, all
You
right,
went
I
with the
guess,
problem first approach, basically, I believe, right?
yeah, basically. The problem is there's vacant storefronts everywhere. No one wants to see them. No one really wants to say, "Oh, I'd rather see an ad there." But like an advertisement on like a clean advertisement on the storefront is better than like a dusty storefront, right? Vacant storefront, because it's just a waste.
So, Chris, what's the
So
one?
yeah,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, what's the one lesson you wish every founder, knew before starting up? I mean, like, what's your general thought? And then I'll bring up a bunch of questions that people are asking in the chat.
What's the one thing I wish founders knew? That it's going to be a lot of work. I would say that, but it's honestly kind of the ignorance of that is better, because if you know, I mean, I've heard most students. I think I heard Jensen Wang say this, like if he knew how much work it was going to be, he would have not even done it. But like, then you wouldn't have that, right? So like, I already know. I like kind of just like, it's not going to be that much work. I already know it's going to be a lot of work, but I don't want to think about it. I just kind of know I have to get started,
Yeah.
because most people just, they have that analysis paralysis. Think about, oh, this could go wrong. This could go wrong. Like,
So, what's your
and
advice for
that's,
the budding entrepreneurs out there who are watching?
yeah, you have to just like go for it. Like if you haven't done anything before, do something and then you'll have experience, right? And then you'll learn something. I would say now for sure though, like you can learn a lot before you even get started, like podcasts.
Yeah.
Like I wish the podcasts that exist now were available.
Because
So
right
like
now,
just,
in the world of AI, you could have an AI co-founder, AI marketer, AI CMO, AI CFO. You don't need like people. I mean, like you can just get going.
yeah, yeah. I mean, try to keep your costs as low as possible. I guess that would be another one. Like because if you only spending $100 a month, and it doesn't like blow up in the first 6 months, like you could last for 3 years, like maybe, right? Because the higher your burn rate is, like you're going to be dead, So like if you can
Struggle
keep it
later.
low,
Yeah.
yeah, try to keep it low, and like don't I know we see things just like seems like this thing happened overnight. Someone blew up and they're a billionaire overnight and they're 22. Like, yeah, that happens, but not very much. So like, don't let that get you down if you're not a billionaire by the time
Of
you're
course.
25.
Okay,
But
last
yeah.
question from my side, and then I'll start pulling up the questionnaire that people are asking. Favorite founder you would have coffee with?
Oh man, I would say, and I'm not like a fanboy, but Elon Musk, like he's just like doing crazy stuff that I thought would be like that I thought people should do, electric cars and like solar panels and all this stuff, and the space. I grew up near the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, so like I grew up watching the space shuttles and the rockets go up.
Yeah.
So just the fact that he's like ballsy enough to do all that,
Hey,
I
and
would
now
love
you're
to
in
talk.
LA, close to SpaceX, so don't
Yeah,
forget.
exactly. Exactly. So I would probably want to like because he's alive. If we're talking about alive,
Yeah.
maybe Steve Jobs if it's open to other people. Yeah.
Mhm. Do you watch a lot of podcasts, read a lot of books as well?
I listen to
And in
podcasts
the
like
meantime,
non.
can I start pulling the question up on the screen? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I listen to podcasts like that's my background music. Like when I'm doing, I go on walks on the beach out here. I go when I'm doing things. That's kind of my background music. I listen to Founders is one of my favorites with David Senner. He does like autobiographies and biographies. He'll do like his clip notes of that. I listen to a lot of like on sales, marketing, SaaS. Like I have a bunch because I'm into like a lot of stuff, advertising, marketing, sales, just business in general, out of home advertising. There's some on about billboards and that kind of stuff. I'm into that kind of stuff. Kind of trying to learn everything I can about that because I'm not traditionally coming from advertising. But yeah, I listen to podcasts. I would say I haven't really read books in a long time because like I can't. When you're reading a book, you can only read a book. But when I'm still a podcast, I can like be doing something else, and I try to be as efficient as possible. But yeah,
And
definitely.
my curious mind is asking one last thing because you jumped industries quite often, right? So when you jump
Hmm.
industries, what's the first thing that you need to get oriented with to be prepared for?
Yeah, you should definitely learn, and now you can. It's very easy to like learn as much as you can about the industry, right? Like listen to podcasts, watch documentaries. Are like the easiest to digest is like that, right? You can, of course, pick up a book. There's books. There's a book about everything. Like Ogilvy on advertising and these there's whatever you're trying to get into, there's someone's written a book, at least one person's written a
Better
book
to
on it.
learn from someone else's experience, right? Because a book is
Yeah,
like so many thoughts, like so many iterations
exactly.
and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
why you
And
want to
YouTube.
fail, right?
YouTube, there's like a million videos on everything on YouTube, like super niche things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I did
Reddit,
like
read
literally.
on
I
Reddit.
ordered a table and then I had to fix the table. I searched for exactly, like scanned it, and exactly the same table, like assembly
Exactly.
video was there for 2 minutes. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, like,
Exactly.
why do you even think of like making a video? And the views were like
Right.
800,000 views. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. There's like not any excuse right now for like not learning.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it, you, I say that's probably the number one thing is the urge to learn, like wanting to learn is very important. Because
Yeah.
if you don't want to learn, like just go get a
I mean,
job,
you'll
honestly.
start aging the same day you stop learning. It doesn't matter. The age is like the numbers.
Yeah.
Only if you keep learning, right?
Yes, exactly. Just keep learning.
Otherwise, become the liability.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, by the
Exactly.
way, Kisle, there was someone else comment. Can you just bring that up and then we'll go with this question right after? Oh, no, no, no. The other one, Christina, I think, yeah. Okay, Catherine. Catherine is saying college dropout to entrepreneur pipeline is leads to some awesome founders. Okay, cool. So I believe she's complimenting you. Take it as a compliment. I'll go to the
Thank
next one.
you.
How do you decide when an idea is worth pursuing, especially when you are entering a completely new industry? I think you just addressed that in a
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to like look and see what the competitive landscape is and if other people are doing something, is it like um, is there space and are you confident enough that you can make it happen? Like, I mean, I've done so many different things that like I've built up enough confidence that like I'm pretty sure of how to do things and how to execute. I kind of like in reverse engineering, how can I do this? And I like lay out the steps. I visualize things like really I'm like I can like look and I have like an AR like overlay of like what I want to happen. I'm like look at the world and I see like the overlay of what I'm doing and I'm like okay. So like I'll often just be like looking like I'm like actually looking. I'm like picturing it. I don't know how to.
that's also a side perk of being an artist, having an artistic mindset.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to do it, and like you have to just have enough faith in it and do it. And if you talk to people about it, like tell people about it, like I'm telling people about like the Airbnb of advertising or the Google AdSense for the real world. That's like, and you can kind of like hone it and figure out like what people you could, if you are a like people watcher, you can like kind of like figure out the psychology of like how they respond when you say something and how they are they responding to this or this, and just like kind of iterate your pitch, um, and tell enough people. And if like you know, and even like sometimes more than half the people will be like, they won't get it. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, honestly, but like it's like just seeing feedback from
And get
regular
the ball
people and from
rolling.
people.
That's the easy.
Yeah, get the ball rolling. You have to just kind of do it, and like don't yeah, don't be scared to start. And like I say, if you can keep your like costs super low, then you're not like really losing much besides like time, but you're gonna learn regardless. And oftentimes failing, like doing something and not working, you'll learn a lot, you
I
know?
mean, failure is a gateway to the success. Honestly, that's how it
Exactly.
all started.
Just
Because
learn whatever.
there's a good quote just popped up in my head. Like success come from experience, and experience come from bad experiences. That's how it works,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Experience comes from failure, I would say too.
Yeah,
Like
and
don't be
bad
afraid of
experiences.
failure for sure.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Once you do it and you like fail at things and you realize you're still alive, like everything's fine. It's like it wasn't that bad, you know. As long as when you fail, you don't die, then like, or you don't like, you know,
Yeah.
lose everyone in your life, you know, then like, screw it, just go
Yeah.
for it.
Exactly. Okay, another question. You have built the marketplaces both online and offline. What's the hardest part about getting liquidity and trust on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, starting out, like we're starting out right now with Space for Ads, so like people are like starting to recognize that it's cool, but that we don't have social proof, right? We don't have like a bunch of logos on our website yet. So just like being brand new and the cold start problem, right, is not easy. Um, but because I've done in-person marketplaces like real life, I know that like you kind of have to get some things going and get like a little base, and then you just kind of like have to slowly build on it. And if you can get it to a certain point and you get like a little bit of social proof, say, okay, we have this, and you kind of just have to keep building on it, really, honestly. I think what with Space for Ads, it's going to, because for a brand, we are opening up a whole bunch of new inventory. Like I'm confident that like I use like the travel agency analogy. So like imagine you're a travel agent before Airbnb, and everyone has Travelocity and Expedia, and they could call Marriott, the Hilton. But now this new thing, Airbnb, comes out. There's all this new inventory and imagine you get a postcard in the mail that says, hey, check out this. And maybe all the other travel agents didn't. Now you could be an early adopter, and the first time you get it, it'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And you're thinking about, wow, I can have a leg up because I have all this other inventory that I can offer my clients that these people don't have. That's what we are building with Space for Ads. So like as a Disney, like when we have all of the high school football fields on our marketplace and there's nowhere else that you're going to be able to get that,
And that's how
like you're going to be,
credibility being built. It's like say word of mouth.
yeah,
Just need one happy customer or
right.
another two, right? And then it's a chain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
last question. What does resilience actually look like on a bad day for you as a founder? I know there's so many people are asking from YouTube to LinkedIn, all different places because it's live all over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, you just have to learns like whatever you wake up and it's a bad day, or you got no, like actually recently I had a client that was, we were trying to get our first client, and they're like decided to go with a different channel. But I'm like, it's cool because I know what I'm building. You're going to capitulate, right? You're gonna come because this makes so much sense that you're going to. So like having the confidence and knowing what you're building is valuable, and kind of a saying like, oh, that's your bad. Like, I feel sorry that you didn't do this early enough, right? You're not an early adopter, but you will be an adopter at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of like positive talk, positive reinforcement, be like, look, this is it's just a day. tomorrow's another day, or today's another day. Yesterday was like, whatever. What did I learn? All right, what should I change? And you just have to like keep at it, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
and I would add to that, like, because you cannot go back and change the past. What happened is
yeah,
happened.
exactly.
But what you can do is, like, you can save
Right.
the future by changing your present. So be in the present. I mean, that's the
Exactly.
root of all the problem,
Be in
right?
the present. Be in the present, and like things that that's the biggest thing that I think people dwell on things that they can't do anything about. And I'm like, if it's out of my hands, I'm like not even gonna stress about it. If it's in the past or like I can't change it, like it's all right. Move on and try to do better. And yeah,
You
just
know what?
keep
A
going.
famous, like, I was just scrolling a reel, and then there was a great example that I saw. Like, a boat is in the middle of a ocean, right? Like, but it's not getting sink. The ocean is not sinking, like sucking the boat up. But if you
Right.
just there's just one small hole, and the water will come in, the entire boat will just get sink into the
Mm.
ocean, right? So
Yeah.
the moral of the story is, like, there are so many negativity. Consider the whole ocean as a negative energy or negativity thoughts, right? What you are
Yeah.
getting inside your head through your ear is something you need to close it up. Like, what you're taking
Yeah.
in, grasping, is going to sink you back in, right? So you need to
Yes.
decide what you need, what not. And if there is a hole, just close it and have a happy life.
That's that's another like there's so many that's another one is like is just cutting out negative energy because you're gonna have people and sometimes it's like the people closest to you. A lot of times it is like because you don't choose the people that you're like probably the closest to, at
Yeah,
least when you're young, you don't even choose them, you're just born with them. So it's like you have people that are just super negative people or because they never like whatever they're projecting, right?
of course.
And you have to just put that like delete that as much as possible and separate because and even like just listening to like the news and things that you can't do anything about, it's just like
Exactly.
very depressing, a lot of it.
Like, you
So
you
it's
think
like
about one accident, and then you see the Instagram reel, the algorithm will keep showing you many accidents, and you'll just freak out in the back of your head, right?
exactly,
So
and your energy's off. Is all about like vibrations and energy, right? Like if you're watching something and now your feed, you following something and now your whole feed, I would say do that. Get your feed, whatever it's like social media you're on, follow all of the things that you wanna be seeing. Like follow the podcast, the companies, the people that are like like talking about positive things, and just like have if your feed is just like motivation and like learning and lessons, then you're gonna be good.
will be inundated with the motivation and learning. Honestly,
Yeah,
in a nutshell, I would say cut the bullshit. That's it. That's the moral of the
basically.
story, right? And then talking about
Yeah.
energy and vibration, that's entirely another 1 hour of conversation between us.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
hey,
Next time.
like, thank you, Chris, for all your insight. You have an incredible journey as a
Sure.
founder, as a human being. I believe you believe in
Hmm.
energy and all this kind of thing as well, which I do as well all the time, because that's what something
Yeah.
matters. I have one question. Yeah, we're gonna start hiring for the tech team. Please reach out to Kisle at Expert Dojo, and then he will guide you what to do next. Hey, Chris, if someone has to reach out to you, talking and learning more about space for ads, or anything about your journey, or any collaboration, partnership, or an investor
Hmm.
might be interested in your business, want to invest, how can someone reach out
Hmm.
to you? And then we'll call it a day.
You find me on LinkedIn, Christopher Carew. You'll see the same picture on here with my morning person hat, that green hat on. That's probably the like most straightforward. I mean, you can email me, but email me, WhatsApp. I have like a bunch of WhatsApp groups, like a couple dozen WhatsApp groups. You probably maybe know me from that already. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way to just hit me up, DM me, connect. I'll reply.
Got you. Hey, Kisler, please add the LinkedIn link. Of course, I think it will be all over. And then, okay, here you go. And then, yeah, I mean, like, people will hit you on LinkedIn or email as well. But
Hmm.
thanks so much for your time, and I appreciate it, all the journey and experience that you shared. I hope to see you sometime in Santa Monica. Uh,
Yes.
but hey, thank you again. Like, really appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you.
What an insightful conversation. Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you come back again next Monday with some amazing story and insight again. Have a good one.
Yes.
Bye.
All right. See you.
Cheers.